Hi, my name is Robert D. Goslin. Welcome to Riversays Writing Episode 2. And while the title of this YouTube channel does have writing in it, I like to believe that a lot of things that we discuss can apply to any creative form, including painting, music, drawing, just about anything, because I'm a very creative person. And I spend my life doing many creative things, so I'd like to share what I've learned on this channel and in many other ways. I'll probably start off a bit esoteric, but we'll funnel it down into some more narrower ideas as we go along. First thing I'll do is define intention. It's pretty simple. Intention is a plan to do something. I intend to go to the store, or I intend to do some laundry. But in the creative process, when you set an intention, it's signaling the universe that you're about to engage with the creative process. And that puts things into motion. Things start off simple. I intend to be creative, but they kind of snowball or amplify from there. But it begins with intention. You intend on being creative. I will say intention is the beginning of my creative process. It's the root of my creativity. I intended to live a creative lifestyle, so I did. My life changed, and I'm much happier with a creative lifestyle. It brings me great joy. And intention is stronger than patience. Intention is something you set. And after you choose to begin, creativity tends to happen more organically. What do I mean by that? If you're just patiently waiting for an idea to hit you to be creative, you're just waiting around. That could take forever. It could take who knows how long. Waiting for inspiration. But if you set an intention, it begins pushing through the initial resistance, and the journey begins. This is how I begin my foray into a creative intention. First of all, I disengage with any term that implies something external is stopping me from being creative. Writers say writer's block. Some people say I'm stuck. Oh, I don't feel creative. As if something like a great big wall just dropped out of the sky in front of you, blocking you from creativity. No, a block or not being able to think of something creative is an internal process. It's resistance, and there's ways of working through that resistance. Sometimes it happens quickly, sometimes it happens slowly, but engaging with the process is the only way to really move forward. Intention gets me past the point of the internal, because the internal block isn't going to go away by itself. I have to have intention to stop pushing against it, start taking those bricks out of the wall. I think one of the most important parts about me is setting intention is realizing I have to get out of my present surroundings. This doesn't mean taking a trip to Europe or going to the Rockies or Paris. And I know some people are unable to get out due to mental health challenges. And point of honesty here, I deal with some mental health challenges myself, have my whole life. Some days I can't even get out of the house. And I plan on doing an episode on that later on about the effect of mental health on creative people in current people's lives and also past creative types. And if you have any ideas on that, please send them in, but it should be quite an episode. But you can get out of yourself within your own surroundings. Near your surroundings, you can go sit on your steps with a cup of tea, or if you can't get out of the house, listen to some music, but something you've never listened to before. That's setting an intent. You're intending on doing something different. Daydream. Not enough is said about daydreaming in this world. Sit in a favorite chair and just let your mind wander. And if you do that with an intent to be creative, creative things tend to happen. One of my favorite ways of setting intention is I watch documentaries. I like science documentaries and history documentaries. That helps me set an intent to be more creative because it inspires me to think in different ways. That's all what the intention is about, is deciding to do something and accepting what comes along the way and what you learn and what happens. And I always trust that the mundane can also lead to the remarkable. For example, if I have to do laundry, something might just happen that's just remarkable that I write down. It might be something small, something big. Might find a really cool coin in my pocket that can lead to a whole story. I've been reading a lot about chaos theory, and the correct definition is, there's a set pattern, but you get unexpected results. A good example I can think of is, a 19th century brick wall. The bricklayers would get all these bricks with different slightly hues of red, and to try to make them all mix together so it would be, wouldn't be in any set pattern. It would be just random. And building a wall is very specific, brick, cement. But in the end, strange things happen. Some of those old walls have patterns that just happen almost organically. And that's chaos theory. That's, when expectations lead to an unintended result. Tripping on my own tongue here. But some things I do when I'm feeling that resistance as well is I'll do random sketching. I'll get a really large piece of paper and make circles and squares, diagonal lines. Just let my pencil follow where my mind wants to go. And inadvertently, patterns start to emerge, creative things start to emerge. Again, maybe that's similar to chaos theory, who knows? When I'm doing guitar scales, I play guitar, not very well, but I play other people's songs, and sometimes I just can't seem to hit a chord. So I'll just spend my time doing scales or walking the neck, basic fixed patterns. And inadvertently, something will just happen all by itself. I'll be doing a scale and a few notes I'll get out of place, but it'll sound great. And I'll make a note of it and I get a little riff out of it. And it's just the unexpected happening out of the expected. So it's amazing if you just have that intent of being creative and keeping your senses tuned, your ears, your seeing, your vision, smell, taste, and other metaphysical ways of opening yourself up. You'll notice strange things. Well, not strange, is probably not a correct word. You'll notice exciting things happen when doing the mundane. I also do what's called priming the pump. For example, I do a lot of photography. And I notice if I choose to carry my camera one day, if I pack everything up and take it with me, for some reason, scenes present themselves worth photographing, worth taking photographs of. It just happens because I've set an intention. Same things happen when I carry my notebook. I'll carry a small notebook and a pencil, go to the city, and I'll see people who will make great characters, or I'll see streets or alleys that'll make great scenes. And that was because I set the intention just by priming the pump of putting that notebook in my pocket. You can put colored pencils in a sketch pad, same thing. So prime the pump, get ready for what's going to happen by physically setting an intention. How about some concrete ideas? Not very good at that, but some helped me along the way. I had my first poetry class ever. I had a great professor who became a muse. I won't use their name because I don't have their permission. But one of the writing exercises they used was a poem called I Am You Are, where the first stanza is you write about what metaphorically you are and what metaphorically somebody else is. And the you can be the person, it can be existential. That was a good exercise. If you need to prime the pump with poetry, try doing an I Am You Are poem. They can be short, they can be long, but they're a lot of fun. Harvest a memory, that's another good one. But include all the senses, because memories include senses, including body sensation and feelings. Journal about them, write about a memory, but include everything that you remember. I also had another friend or a muse, a professor, whatever we want to put it. He used to say everything was a text. And I've kind of revised that a little bit, I hope he understands. But I think of everything as a theme. For example, a tree can be a theme to the branching of time, or a road can be a theme to getting where you want to go or not getting where you want to go. So look at things as a theme, and I think theme is greatly underrated in the creative landscape because it's very important. I'll do a whole episode on that, actually. I also lean on personal experiences of others, like, for example, Alan Turing. When he was a very young man, his best friend died quite young. He cared about a great deal. And it started him on thinking about identity and what is consciousness. What does it mean to be a person and how everyone is different? And that set him off on his creative journey, and his creativity was physics and math and, ideas and just thinking out of the box. But it began with a personal experience, and I've used his experience to try and lead on my own. I like to personalize existing works. For example, I had a favorite novel, but I didn't like the end. So I rewrote it. Can't publish it, don't plan on it, but it was a great exercise that helped me get out of, that place of, having to find new ideas. It got me thinking. Found poetry is another one of my favorites. I know people who go through graveyards and take lines of epitaphs, or they go through libraries and take titles of books or titles of songs, because book titles and song titles aren't copyrighted. It might be trademarked, double check, but it's fun to make poems and pieces of creativity out of found materials. You can also do the same thing with art. Collect a bunch of sticks, collect a bunch of things you find, glue them down somewhere, or just collect leaves. Found material is a great way of staying creative. And creativity is personal to everyone who chooses to engage with it, and that's what it makes so special. Every human is completely unique, and I am human. I'm not an AI, just to let you know. I'm a real person, and each one of us is so different. There's never been two people exactly the same. So that means that every approach to creativity is unique. Whatever you use to move through that resistance is unique to you. I hope some of my ideas might have helped a little bit, but if you have any other thoughts that might be helpful to others, drop them in the comments or send them along to the website. I'll be happy to post them. And just engaging with the world in a creative way charges your creative batteries. Just setting out to do something creative, even if it doesn't come out the way you intended, you feel creatively stronger. Just charges you up. So just stay engaged with the process, even if it doesn't go where you expect it to go. And sometimes when it doesn't go where expected to go, it comes out the best. That's my own personal experience. But starting the journey always starts with intention. You're intending to be creative, and the universe says, hey, this person's going to be creative. And it kind of leans in a little bit and kind of gives you a little bit of a nudge. At least that's what I believe. But everyone is unique. Approach it how you need to, whatever helps you get through the resistance. Just keep trying. Don't stop. Like I always say, keep writing. But I'll also say, keep singing, keep dancing, keep painting, keep photographing. Don't stop. And when you come up with something that you like, share it. Because that's what being a visionary is sharing your creative process with the world. And when you share it, it adds to the world and it adds to the universe. You added something to the universe that was never there before. And that's pretty astounding. It's very powerful. So just keep staying on the journey. Be creative. And it starts with intention. And I'm glad you could join me here today. And if you'd like to get a hold of me, you can either go to my website, riversays.org. There's a contact page. There's other ways to get a hold of me. On my website, there's a link to my personal author's site if you want to learn more about me. But just keep doing what you're doing. And know that it's okay to just be stuck sometimes, and there's ways of working through it. And you will work through it. No one stays stuck forever. But there are ways to work through the resistance, and I hope a few of these ideas I threw out there today will help you achieve that. So keep being a visionary, keep creating, and be well.